Good morning, everyone. How are we doing this morning? It's not too bad on the East Coast of the good old USA where I am. It's typical spring weather. And we're going to talk about Final Cut Pro today, which we always do. This is Final Cut Pro and coffee, of course. Got to have the coffee, Final Cut Pro and coffee. What a great combination. We're also going to be talking about NAB, of course, which is 1 week away. 1 week away, I'll be traveling to Las Vegas, Nevada, and we will be broadcasting live from there. There's a lot of different people who are broadcasting, doing remote broadcasts, which they're just going to rehash what the vendors have already put out, video-wise. We're going to be on the ground. We're going to be interviewing some people. We're not going to cover the whole NAB, okay? NAB itself does that. We're not going to try to capture every single vendor and talk to everybody and see what they're doing. No. We're doing Final Cut Pro specific vendors. Hello from Germany this time. From Germany. Wow. Fantastic. Carter Bing says, good morning. How are you doing? Good morning indeed. Good morning indeed. So we got some things to talk about. NAB primarily, because NAB is only a week away. But we're going to talk about other things as well, Final Cut Pro related. So who thinks there's going to be a Final Cut Pro update next week before NAB? Anybody think that that's going to happen next week? What are the odds? Let's say that. What are the odds that there is an update next week, which they did last year? Right about now, they did an update. The Final Cut Pro team, Apple did an update right about now before NAB. 10.6.2 came out last year. Josh says, hope so, but not confident. Same with me. I'm always hopeful that they will put out an update before NAB. Well, it's free money. It's free money. Why not put an update out with a few features at least before NAB? It's ridiculous if they don't. I don't care if they have 2 features like they did last year, 3 features, something new. Don't do a bug fix. That's ridiculous. But why not capitalize on NAB? This year's NAB, last year NAB had 900 vendors. 2022 NAB had 900 vendors. This year they have 1,250. So they have 350 more vendors than they did a year ago. Last year, the Final Cut Pro team released 10.6 1 or 2 weeks before NAB, so at least something was out. Why not do that every year? Or just whenever you can? If there's something they can put out with 1 or 2 features, why not create a little bit of buzz? It's free advertising. People will be talking about it. I mean, it's why not? Where's the downside? Even if 10.7 is not 100% ready, or 10.7 is coming out later in 2013, why not put out 10.6.6 with a few features? Give us a few features, something we can talk about. Carter says, I hope so. Lutz says, don't think so. Yeah, my confidence is not that high that it's going to happen, but I still hope that it happens. I guess that's my point. My confidence is down here, but I hope that its possibility happens. Hello from New Jersey. My focus is ENG and mobile breaking news. ENG, do you think Final Cut Pro will ever be available on the iPad? It would be perfect solution for light and mobile street kit. I think yes. I think at some point it will be, but right now you have LumaFusion. It's $29. LumaFusion is more advanced than Final Cut Pro is in lots of ways. It's already available for the iPad. You can also export LumaFusion projects into Final Cut Pro. There's an add-on that you can buy. So it already is available. I mean, LumaFusion is more advanced than Final Cut. It has more features than Final Cut in a lot of areas. So $29, can't beat it. Can't beat it. So, but anyway, I think at some point there'll be a Final Cut for iPad version. It won't be the full version. There's no way it can be. There's too many. How's it going to support all the plugins that I have? Thousands of plugins. But I think the possibility exists, yes. But why not just use iMovie or LumaFusion? LumaFusion is a very, very cool, advanced NLE for the iPad already, or DaVinci Resolve. Yes, DaVinci Resolve can also be used for the iPad. My iPad doesn't qualify. It won't run on my iPad. I have an iPad Air, so it won't run. It downloaded it, but it won't run. It just, doesn't, when you try to launch it, it just goes up and then goes down. So, yeah, that's the other one. But since this is a Final Cut Pro broadcast, primarily, we do talk about DaVinci, and we will be going to see Blackmagic at NAB. That's probably one of the first places that I'll be stopping. So I get into NAB Sunday morning it's early in the morning before it starts. NAB starts at 10 o'clock on Sunday. That's the official time that the convention center opens. I'll be getting in before that, and I have to drop my suitcases over the airport. I have to drop them off at the hotel room. Hotel, not the hotel room, because I can't actually log into my hotel until 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, something like that. So I'm going to drop my bags off, get a ticket for them, and then I'll just have my light NAB travel knapsack with me in a monopod. I have a monopod. And then I'll head over to NAB, take the monorail up to NAB. And start usually, it used to be you went into the South Hall, but the South Hall hasn't been around for 2 years. They opened up the brand new West Hall. So I'll be the Central Hall, Central and North Hall lobby, North Hall, and then you take the underground Tesla. I think it's a driverless Tesla. Take it to the West Hall because it's far away. You could walk it, but it's really, really far away. Maybe Apple and BMD will collaborate at some point. Only can hope. As far as what? As far as just sharing Blackmagic RAW and ProRes RAW back and forth, that would be cool. But there is a version of Final Cut on the iPad in development. You can bet your whatever you want to bet that there is. I mean, that's of course they have a version of Final Cut running on an iPad over there at the Final Cut Pro team. Of course they do. But that doesn't mean it's going to ever see the light of day, and it also is not the full version of Final Cut. Some point, maybe, but it's the first version. If and when it comes out, it will not be a full version. It will not have all the features that Final Cut on the M1 Max has. But anyway, if you want to add it on the iPad, LumaFusion. That's the main one you want to get. It's really, really advanced. Great people, luma-touch.com. The great people, as a matter of fact, they're sponsoring my trip to NAB. I have 4 sponsors that when I go to NAB and they sponsor. Number 1 is LumaFusion. And the second one is Audio Design Desk right now. Those two have already they're already helping me with sponsoring me for my trip to NAB. And there's 2 other ones that I'll mention as they complete their sponsorship. So I have 4 sponsorships to NAB this year, which is fantastic. Cost me about $2,000, something like that, to get there, between airport tickets, parking, because I parked my car at the airport for 4 days, and the airfare in the hotel room, Sunday through Wednesday. So, plus meals, but you can sponsor me for meals, right? Yes, you can sponsor me for meals right here. BuyMeACoffee.com. Look, we already got some support. We're approaching, I think we're like $80 this year so far. Last year was $200 when I went to NAB. This is listeners support for coffee, hamburgers. I do go to In-N-Out Burger, French fries, if I do evening meals and stuff. So this is that support. This is the listener support for those things. Everybody sponsored so far. I think it's about $80, something like that. And last year was $200. I'd like to get to $200 again, so we have another week or so. Plus, you can do the support during NAB, of course. Absolutely. I appreciate all the support. I want to make sure that you realize that. I appreciate every bit of it. And of course, don't forget, if you want to follow along, here's what I'm doing. I have a playlist over at YouTube. It's NAB 2023. Anytime I go live, the live stream will be at the top of the playlist. So if you go over there to youtube.com, here you go. youtube.com, Richard Taylor TV. Go over there, subscribe, ring the bell. But specifically, I think it's the first one, the NAB 2023 playlist, because that will be, every time I go live, it'll be on there. It'll be a description of what it is. I'm going to start at the airport. I will be getting to the airport Sunday morning early, and I got to go through, check-in and all that, and then I have like an hour and a half, 2 hours with nothing to do. So I'll do a live stream from the airport. Start there. I'm not going to do any on the airplane itself because I don't have Wi-Fi. And then when I land at the airport in Las Vegas, I probably won't do one there, but I'll be filming. I'll get a taxi or Uber to my hotel, drop off my bags, probably get some breakfast, and then head right up to NAB, which opens at 10 o'clock, and start doing an organized, going through NAB Convention Center, just stopping at different places. Like I said, I'm not interested in going through every vendor and stopping at every single vendor. That's not what I'm doing. I'm doing mostly, specifically Final Cut Pro stuff. What I'm saying is anybody that's related to Final Cut Pro, like LumaFusion, they have a plugin for Final Cut Pro. You can export your project to Final Cut Pro. Audio Design Desk is another company that I'll be stopping and interviewing. They are fantastic to work with Final Cut Pro. I really, really like them. Thanks. I will check Luma. Some iPads are advanced as MacBook Pros. What's the technical reason full version cannot be used? The technical reason, let me tell you a couple of technical reasons. I have 1,500 plugins in Final Cut Pro for the desktop. How are they going to be ported over to an iPad version? They can't be. 1,500 plugins. I'm not going to rebuy them. I'm not going to wait for plugin manufacturers to update 1,500 plugins. That's number one. So the plugins is one thing. Number two is I'm connected to 3 RAID 5s via Thunderbolt. 3 different RAID 5s via Thunderbolt. That's where my media lives. That's where my libraries live, my projects live. How am I going to connect them to an iPad? I can't. They require specific Mac OS drivers in order to be seen and connect on my MacBook Pro. So that's 2 major things that would prevent me from working on an iPad on a day-to-day basis. Now, if I'm traveling to NAB, yeah, that would be fine because I'm not bringing my RAIDs with me. I don't need all those plugins. That's fine. If I'm on the metro, driving around, want to do some editing, that's completely something that I would do. But like I said, if I want to do that, I lose LumaFusion. That's the main thing. But those are two big reasons why it'll be a light version. It'll be Final Cut Pro or Final Cut for the iPad. Something like, it won't even be Final Cut Pro, I bet. This is now, do I know anything? No. I don't know, but I'm saying it makes sense that it won't be the full version. It'll be a different version, just like DaVinci Resolve is different than the full studio version. It has everything. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit, scaled down. At some point, perhaps. But they are two different versions. I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm just saying initially I don't think it'll happen. I think it'll be a different version, a scaled down. They wouldn't call it light, I don't think. They would just call it Final Cut for iPad. Something like that. Or then maybe they'll call it iMovie Pro. Who knows? I mean, iMovie's pretty capable, isn't it? On the iPad. So that's free. And then LumaFusion, if you really want to get serious, or DaVinci Resolve, either one. Whichever you would like. So nobody thinks that we're going to see an update to Final Cut Pro in time for NAB next week, right? I haven't seen anybody said. Everybody's kind of hopeful, but most people think it's not going to happen. That's probably my expectation as well. They probably should have had it out by now. If they were going to release it for NAB, they should have had it out this last week. It could come out next week. It certainly could, but I don't expect it. I would be pleasantly surprised if it came out in time for NAB. Daria says, thanks for the insights. Absolutely. I'm here for you guys and gals right here. I come on here on Saturday mornings. I do my research for the week, and I come on for you to be talking. I mean, there's a couple of other, Final Cut, podcasts or whatever you want to call them. They're not really podcasts, but the YouTube content. But I come on for you, get content for you. Plus, I provide news and stuff. In my humble opinion, there is no reason to make a light version of Final Cut Pro for iPad OS. It's called iMovie on the iPad. If the Resolve competitor has a full-fledged version, why wouldn't Apple? I just gave you two reasons. How you can connect to all the plugins that I have, and how you can connect to my RAIDs. Professionals, studios use RAIDs. They connect to RAIDs via Thunderbolt. They require specific drivers for the iPad. For Mac OS. I haven't seen any of these people talk about making a driver for iPad OS. Now, once again, I'm not saying it won't happen. I'm saying initially. Initially, I don't think it. I think it's going to be a restricted version. It's not going to be a full version. But like you said, iMovie OS, for iOS, LumaFusion. You can do projects in LumaFusion and transfer them to Final Cut Pro. I'm certainly not against it. I'm not against Final Cut Pro coming to the iPad. I just think it'll be a different version. I think it'll be a different version than the Mac version. Hello from France. How you doing? France. I've been to France one time. I was in France one time, and I really, really liked it, Paris. That's when I started, that's when I started drinking coffee seriously. Before that, it was like, oh, whatever, I'll get some whatever. But when I was there, I was at the coffee is fantastic there. Speaking of Final Cut Pro update and your mention of iMovie, I start with iMovie. Did you know that the original version of iMovie had a scrolling timeline? I don't know why they got rid of it. I do indeed know it had a scrolling timeline. Any NLE on the iPad has to have a scrolling timeline, because how are you going to grab it? I mean, Final Cut Pro is the only one that doesn't. Everybody else has it. All NLEs have it. All digital audio workstations have it. It's an option. If you don't want to use it, you don't have to. There's also a paging option in some of them. But the fact that it doesn't have it after all these years, I think I've been told this by two separate independent sources. We never got together and discussed it. Two independent sources that there indeed is a scrolling timeline in Final Cut Pro. They just haven't turned it on yet. And it's been there since the beginning. Now, these sources I trust. They're people that are on the inside. So I believe that that's true. They haven't turned it on yet for whatever reason. Besides strikes, so you got some serious strikes over there in Paris right now. I saw that on the news. So yeah. Anyway, so here's one of the things. Let me see what I've got here. Let me go back to here. This is where you can support me and my trip to NAB. Listeners, this is listeners supporting. This is listener supporting. This is where you can support my trip to NAB. buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor. We already got some listeners. I think I got $80 worth of coffee so far. We have a week to go before I leave, and you can also do it while I'm at NAB. Like I said, it's not just coffee. It's not just coffee. It's hamburgers, French fries, evening meals, and stuff. So that's fine. It's beyond embarrassing that Final Cut Pro doesn't have a scrolling timeline. I'm not going to disagree with that statement. It's been a chief complaint of mine since the original version of Final Cut. Makes absolutely no sense. Some people say, "Oh, we don't need a scrolling timeline." You don't, but you don't work the way that I do, and a lot of other people work. I do my podcast editing, Final Cut Pro Radio, in Logic, specifically because it has a scrolling timeline, plus it's a digital audio workstation. When I have an hour and a half timeline and I'm looking at waveforms, editing audio waveforms, I don't want to have to keep scrolling with my mouse. It's ridiculous. It makes, regardless of your opinion about the scrolling timeline, you can turn it off. It's an option. Number two is, tell me how it makes sense that the timeline playhead does this and scrolls off the screen and stays there until you press stop. Tell me how that makes any sense. It makes zero sense for the timeline playhead to scroll off the screen as it does in Final Cut Pro. Off the screen. It goes off the screen. Yeah, you can use Zoom and you can, keep hitting the space bar to stop and playhead. It's ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, it is ridiculous. It isn't. There's other things we're missing too. It took us, they have some innovative features, the magnetic timeline. Most people that use Final Cut like that. And I want the Final Cut Pro team to continue doing innovative things. Voice isolation from 10.6.2 was a nice feature that I don't think anybody was expecting last year. Right? I don't think anybody was expecting. So I like those surprises that come in, new innovative features. Totally agree. It helps immensely when mixing audio too. Absolutely. I want built-in transcriptions too. That has to be happening in Final Cut Pro 10.7, doesn't it? At this point, the editing text that edits the video, editing text for speech to text. You can press something and it'll make speech to text inside of Final Cut. I understand there's third-party ways to do it. I have Mac Whisper myself and a couple of other ones, but I want it internal in Final Cut. So you can click on, you have a text document, you can click on it and it'll go to that place in the video and you can make your timeline based on text, edit via text. It just makes sense that has to be coming. I mean, Apple already has a lot of that stuff It seems like built in. So I really expect that to be one of the main features is speech to text, captions, editing video via text, the way Lumberjack Systems does now. I really expect that to be coming in Final Cut Pro, especially, 10.7. So I'm saying 10.7 comes in 2023. If it doesn't arrive between now and NAB, which is only 1 week left, maybe around WWDC. But there's never been a full number update of Final Cut Pro around WWDC. Never. That I know of. I've never seen a full number update. 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, or 10.6. None of those, and then 10.7, have happened around around WWDC. That's my point. There's been many Final Cut Pro updates, half a dozen around NAB. ProRes RAW was introduced on NAB Monday. It came out right at NAB. So the idea that they don't update Final Cut Pro on NAB, of course they do. They have done many times. Eric says voice isolation is good, but most pros already had some form of voice noise reduction in third-party or DAW plugins. That's true. But voice isolation is it's different than just noise reduction. I like it better. I don't know exactly it's machine learning or artificial intelligence. It's actually whatever they're doing, they're actually getting the voice, and they're not isolating it with frequency. They're doing something else to isolate it. Install Command Post, and you have scrolling timeline and much more. Yes, I have tried out Command Post, absolutely, but I want it to be in Final Cut Pro natively, don't you? Don't you want it natively? I want it natively built into Final Cut. Like voice isolation, I expect more AI tools to come for Final Cut Pro. Exactly. This will be 10.7, or if they jump to 11, whatever the heck they're going to do, who the heck knows? They could jump to 11, right? They could. But I expect probably 10.7 will be out, and I do expect more AI tools. Now, people talk about the virtual reality glasses and stuff. That doesn't interest me at all. I'm not a gamer. I'm not really interested in wearing big, obtrusive goggles. And, that's not something that I'd be interested in doing. At some point in the future, if they make a pair like this that look like glasses, maybe I'll do it then. But I'm not going to put these big, things on my face to try to do VR. Now, I understand if you do, that's fine, but it's not for me. That's all. Agreed, Eric. There's no good reason not to integrate motion features into Final Cut Pro. Moreover, graphics and fonts are way overdue for an update and expansion. All right, graphics and fonts. Tell me more about that, Darius. I'm not sure. Fonts aren't doing well in Mac OS or Final Cut. I'm not sure. In graphics, you mean more sophisticated, true 3D graphics? Is that what you're saying? That I know Motion doesn't have true 3D. It has like 2.5D, something like that. But, so let's go over and watch a video. Let me see, I got a couple of videos from NAB. This, unfortunately, hasn't happened for a while. We used to have something called a Final Cut Pro Guru Gathering, where a bunch of us got together for lunch, for dinner. Steve Martin was the main instigator of that. He put it together. So let's watch this annual Final Cut Pro Guru Gathering that we had in the past. This was NAB 2019, 4 years ago.
The first time I got shipped to James 5. So I was like, I'm going to shoot 4 360.
There's Steve.
Hey, Richard Taylor.
Thank you, Steve, for the Guru Gathering. I know
You
you're
were part of it, man. It was a collaborative effort.
It absolutely was.
My wife Jill.
I recognized her from the videos.
How's the audio on that little capsule?
It's better than just native.
Okay. Maybe a little bit better?
It's louder.
Are you streaming?
No, I'm having trouble streaming with internet.
You're having trouble with streaming? Is it?
Internet connectivity
It's
on and on.
spotty, isn't it?
Yeah. So,
Awesome.
so what I do is short videos and I put them up. Short videos and put them up.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. And I can edit them.
Yes.
So that was Steve Martin. He used to do the Guru Gathering, but it cost him a lot of money. I don't know how much. I think they had some different people that were involved with contributing and making that happen. I think FCP Works was there for a while. Maybe LumaForge was there helping, but LumaForge was bought out by OWC, so they're not going to do anything like that. Darius says specifically meant pro-looking lower thirds. There you go. Yeah, that kind of graphics. Yes, I agree. I like pro level titles and lower thirds and things. I like that a lot myself. So that's absolutely true. But anyway, we used to have, in the past, we've had LumaForge, who has sponsored 4 major Final Cut Pro centric. They weren't 100% Final Cut Pro, but they were Final Cut Pro centric events. 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019. And they had a lot of Final Cut Pro stuff. Very, very Final Cut Pro heavy. So that was cool. And then we had the FCP Guru Gathering for like 2016, 2017, or 2017, 2018, and 2019. I think 4 years. It said fourth, so it was 4 years. 2016, 17, 18, and 19. That stopped. No longer there. LumaForge is not doing anything with the Faster Together stage this year. OWC is not doing anything. Even in the last time I was there was 2019. I think it was. Well, I was there last year, but before that, even Frame.io had their area had a lot of Final Cut Pro centric things that were happening. So that was kind of a gathering place for Final Cut Pro people where they went to the Frame.io booth. Frame.io was bought out by Adobe. You think Adobe's going to sponsor anything Final Cut Pro related? Of course not. Of course not. So Frame.io sold out to Adobe. LumaForge sold out to OWC. And there's no Final Cut Pro events at NAB this year. Our friend Yari Innanen says, hello, Richard. Glad you could make it, Yari. But that doesn't mean I'm not looking for him. I'm going to still be looking for him. The Final Cut Pro team will be there. They're there every year, even if there's not an Apple-specific event. The other events were FCP Works put on and Apple put on a specific events showing us the latest. The Final Cut Pro team did a presentation. It was free. It was in the convention center. They did it in 2016, 2017, and 2018, those 3 years. They don't do that anymore. So if you know of a Final Cut Pro event, let me know, because there's nothing. All my feelers are out to different people that might know something about that was going on, but I can't find any information about any Final Cut Pro specific event at NAB, like there has been for a while. No, has Final Cut Pro been updated? No, and we're talking about if it's going to be updated in time for Final Cut Pro. It's not been updated yet. A skin tone correction would be a nice feature. You mean an automatic skin tone? That would be interesting. Apple should just buy Adobe. They certainly could afford to. For what reason? I don't want those Adobe products in the Apple ecosystem. Matthew says, what's up, Richard? We're talking about Final Cut Pro in NAB. We're questioning whether there's going to be an update. I mean, the closer we get to NAB, the less likely there's going to be a Final Cut Pro feature update. I don't mean a bug fix. We've had 3 bug fixes in a row. That's the only time I can remember that Final Cut Pro has had 3 bug fixes in a row. We had 10.6.2 last year, right before NAB. Then we had 10.6.3, 10.6.4, and 10.6.5. Since then, bug fixes. They're all bug fixes. Don't give us another bug fix before NAB. That would be ridiculous. It has to be a feature, a couple of features, whatever. Now, so what does that mean? 10.7. 10.7 hopefully is very big update. It's all the features that have been building up since 10.5 and 10.6, which weren't very feature centric. It's been a while. Hopefully they will surprise us. It's been between 16 and 18 months, because when 10.6 came out was actually the last time before 10.6.2. So if you start when 10.6 came out, that was a couple of features. And then 10.6.2 came out in in April last year. It's been 16 months and we've gotten 2 features. 16 months and we've gotten 2 features. That's not enough. I'm sorry, that's completely not enough. So I'm hoping something else happens. I mean, it's obviously going to happen in 2023. 10.7 in 2023 is very, very likely, but I'd like to see it sooner rather than later. What happened to the Final Cut Pro users groups? They were great. Every meeting was a learning experience. Did Apple discontinue support? I don't think Apple ever supported them. I don't think they did support them. They maybe did a little bit behind the scenes, but they didn't support them up front. You know, good question. Look at LACPUG. It used to be FCPUG. They changed to just a more generic version. I would love the remix feature from Premiere in Final Cut Pro. Okay, sure. I mean, NLEs borrow from each other all the time, don't they? You know, where did Final Cut, when Final Cut first launched, it didn't have JK&L playback. Didn't have it. I think they got that from Avid. So NLEs borrow from each other all the time. Okay? That's just the way it happens. If 10.7 doesn't have a true mixer or a better way to send a logic mix, I might give up hope. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Please, don't give up hope. Just, you know, you already paid for it. You can use it if you want to use DaVinci Resolve as well, or LumaFusion on the iPad. Those are the 2 that I would use at this point. I like both of them a lot. In fairness, it has been so long since a really big update. I think it was 10.4. That's correct. That's absolutely correct. 10.1 through 10.4 all had big feature updates. The point numbers, in 10.4.4 was a big update, and 10.1 was a big update, etc. 10.5 was not a big update. 10.6 was not a big update. I'm talking about features. Yes, everybody knows about Metal. It has to do Metal and has to do the M1 Max. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about features specifically to Final Cut Pro. So we only have had 2 features in the last 16 months. That's not enough. That's absolutely not enough. You're falling way behind with development. They should have a committee and have people like yourself in the Final Cut Pro, people who are passionate about the software. They do have, they're listening, they have some people in Hollywood they're listening to right now. So they did do that group, but you're right. They should, I've often said, regular Final Cut Pro users, you should talk to them. Now, they do watch this broadcast. So, Final Cut Pro team, we need more than 2 features every 16 months. That's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? As good as Final Cut is, it needs to step up its game with development. You know, whether or not that's related, I don't know, but ever since Steve Bays left, the development of Final Cut Pro has really gone down. The frequency of updates, feature updates, has really gone dramatically down, 10.5 and 10.6. Let's hope that changes in 10.7. I'm hoping whatever's been causing the slow update treadmill to happen with 10.5 and 10.6, that 10.7 changes that, and it comes out with a lot of good features. Speech to text, an audio mixer, whatever they're going to do with that. Absolutely. So let's go to here. Let's watch this. Not watch this. Let's look at this. Let me see what I got here. First, here you go. So I have this thing, the list. I have the list. Okay? I have 101 features that I want to see in Final Cut Pro for 2023. The list, 101 feature requests for Final Cut Pro in 2023. Of course, your list would be different. This is my list. This is my list that we've already talked about. Number one, still the champ of scrolling timeline. It's ridiculous that they don't have one after all this time. And yes, there is one. Oh, error occurred. Can't do that. Okay. Can't do that inside of my software that I'm streaming with. Did you know that there's a scrolling timeline in Motion? Yeah, there is. There's two scrolling timelines in Logic. So the Pro apps already have the ability to do that. Roles-based mixer, project improvement. I mean, there's lots of things in here. Just go to FCPX.tv. There's lots of things. Things I'd like to see inside of Final. How would you like to see this? Check boxes to allow custom settings like spatial conform, create transition warning, timeline view, dual mono stereo to be saved as default. How many times do I have to adjust the view in my timeline in Final Cut? The icon, a certain height, and the relationship between the video and audio. Every time I start a project or switch, I have to go back there and change that. Hundreds of times over the last 11 years. Hundreds of times. Let us save that as a default. Once we set it up the way we like it, save it as a default, the ability to save it as a default. Timeline index is another one. I go to the timeline index and I have the columns set to a certain width. When I go back, boop, they're all back to some squishy version. Save these things as default. I would love Apple to store motion templates folder on an external drive since Apple charges premium for storage space. I think you can't. Is there a way to do that with I think there is a way to do that with Symlinks or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, that would be fine too. It would be sad for them not to continue to update the software. It's so good. I agree. I'm still here after all these years. Between FX Factory and Vado Elements, I run out of system storage space for titles, generators, and overlays. So tell me, you can't store that on an external drive and somehow link it back to where Final Cut Pro expects it? That's interesting. I would think that would be available. That would be something. That's a good point then. Let us store those things on an external drive. I've never done that, so. The original iMovie had excellent audio timeline rubber banding. It was removed. It was so much better, easier, and quicker than the steps that are now available in Final Cut Pro. Simplicity over sophistication. Symlinks work until you update FF Factory, and then it refills motion template. Yeah, that's true. When you update it, yes, it goes back to the motion. That's very true. So Symlinks do work for that. You could do that. So it's a little bit of manual finagling in the Finder, I guess, right? If you want to keep doing that. So the other thing I want to talk about, let's go over here, graphics. So we have the countdown to Final Cut Pro. We have this, a Facebook group, FCP at NAB. If you're going to be going to NAB or just want to follow along specifically NAB news about anything Final Cut Pro related, join the Facebook group over there, FCP at NAB. We have a couple dozen members. We're going to be scheduling casual meetups at NAB, Final Cut Pro people. Casual meetups. Starbucks, a couple of other places over there at FCP at NAB. Informal. It's not going to be, we're not going to rent any place, but we're going to say, okay, let's get together. Who wants to get together? If there's like half a dozen people, we'll schedule it at the FCP at NAB group, and we'll say where it is and stuff. So there's 2 or 3 places that I'm thinking right now that probably will work. Starbucks being one. There's a Starbucks right outside of the Black Magic area in the convention center. There's a Starbucks right there, so that would probably be a good place. But there's a couple of other ones. Go over there and join us. At the pace we are, we would need around 70 years. You see your list achieved. But Apple has made a huge effort on the professional hardware in the new M1 Max. Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. Two feature updates in 16 months is ridiculous. We're never going to get features that we need in Final Cut. But it would take forever. You're absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So is anybody watching? Is anybody going to NAB? I'll be curious. I mean, the fact that there's no Final Cut Pro specific event is not that exciting for me, but I'll see what I can find. I'll see what I can find out. I will talk to the Final Cut Pro team. I'll see them and I'll talk to them. But I can't say what we talk about unless they give me specific permission to do that. I talked with them last time. Seemed like Apple was trending towards a less secretive approach to pro hardware and software, but not so much anymore. It did seem like that, right? I mean, they allowed a beta to be publicly previewed last March, 10.6.2. They allowed YouTube influencers to show a beta version of Final Cut. That hasn't happened since then. There's been nothing since then. It's been really, really dull. The dog days of Final Cut Pro news. Now, hopefully that means a big update's in the works. That's what I hope. I'm the eternal Final Cut Pro optimist, but we'll see. Who is the FCP chief software engineer? I don't know. A lot of the people that I knew, Steve Bays, I know Steve, and who's the guy that just left from Australia? I forget what his name is. Let me go back over here to this. Let's go back over here for a second. Let me see. This is Buy Me a Coffee once again. Oh, we have another supporter. Absolutely fantastic. During this live stream, we have another supporter. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Somebody contributed during the live stream. That's really, really support. It's $5 a coffee. Give me $5, $10. I will mention everybody as I get coffees and stuff. And I don't normally eat bagels, but I will probably get a bagel or two at NAB because my schedule is different. Normally, I don't eat a big breakfast. I have coffee, light breakfast. Usually I skip lunch and I go right to dinner. So I appreciate people when they do this. But let me go back to here one time. Let me see what I've got here. Oh, here we go. Let's go here. So ProApps Team Exodus. I got to turn this on. ProApps Team Exodus. I published this. Steve Bays, these are the people that have left. Luke Tristram, that's the one I was talking about. So Luke was the one that left. It really, really caught my attention when he left. He went back to Australia because he's always, doing really good presentations. Every time I see the Final Cut Pro team, he's usually one of the main presenters. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. He left Apple and went back to Australia. He was in promotion of the Final Cut Pro team or something, but he was a really good presenter. He's gone. He's now a consultant for Apple. He's no longer an employee. He's a consultant. Yeah, Luke, here we go. Jesse says, you're welcome. I really appreciate it, Jesse. Jesse just contributed over there at buymeacoffee.com. I appreciate it. We have to be realistic and see that Apple is not interested in the professional market and is a shame because even without updates, Final Cut Pro continues to be excellent software. So here's the thing. I don't think that's true. I mean, I understand why you think that based on the evidence, because I don't pay attention to this. I don't pay attention to people yapping, and promises and promises. I pay attention to walk, not the talk. So based on that, you're correct. But I still have faith that they're doing a big version of Final Cut. And when that big version comes out, it's got to be 10.7. We can't wait for a couple more years. It has to be 10.7 in 2023. I'm hoping we have a lot of great, cool features, some innovation, catching up on professional features that professional people need. I really, really hope that is the case. We have to have, they've got to be giving us features. They've got to be giving us features. So I understand where that's coming from. But let me pull this out of the way. Just got notice for an update, which I'm not going to do in the middle. So I'm not sure who the lead person of the Final Cut Pro team is. I'm not sure. I know Bill Davis is over there, but I'm not sure the different roles. The membership request of joining the Final Cut Pro groups, I admit today, is increasing all the time, so I guess that is some form of indicator for every growing Final Cut Pro user base. Yes, absolutely, Yari. Yari is one of the administrators of one of the biggest Facebook Final Cut Pro groups. I think he's talking about the Meet in Person local groups, LACPUG, Chicago. They never had one on the East Coast that I know of. They used to be big, but they don't have those anymore. If there was one around where I live, I'd go to it. You know, I enjoy those, but there's none there. So the groups themselves, I mean, I think Yari's group has 30,000 plus people. I'm not sure how much of that is, you know, people that contribute versus people that just watch. But I have Final Cut Pro, I have Final Cut Radio TV on Facebook. That's got 1,800 members, and I got another one, Final Cut Pro Tips and Tricks, which is 8,500 members. So yeah, they keep going up, but they're not the in-person groups. I think that's what he was talking about. But there is interest. I mean, there's probably 4 to 5 million Final Cut Pro seats being used at this time. So of course there's interest. It's just that those of us that have been here a long time, it's frustrating that there's been a real drag on updating with getting new features, and not just features, but innovation. It's really stalled. The innovation of Final Cut Pro has really stalled since 10.5 and 10.6. Both of them are really way down here compared to 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm hoping 10.7 comes back and gives us a lot of new features, a lot of new innovation that we have. That's what I'm hoping. That is what I'm hoping. Let's watch another video. Let me see another video. We just watched Steve. What else do we have? Oh, here we have Chuck Braverman. I interviewed him at NAB.
Chuck Braverman, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, Richard?
So, what have you liked at NAB so far? Anything special? Anything stand out for you?
I saw a demo today, this afternoon, of a company that takes standard depth footage and through some magic dust makes it 4K, and it looked very, very good. I was sort of shocked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send them a demo of some of the footage that I have, some older footage, and see, you know.
What'd you think about the Apple announcement last night about the 2 million
Yeah, I thought it was pretty amazing. You know, I heard the 1 million number before, which is a lot of seats. 2 million is obviously a lot more, and I think it's progress, and I think people are waking up. Ironically, the meeting that I went to today, this guy who was demoing this had worked as an editor, and somebody had dumped a feature film in his lap in an emergency and asked him to cut it in Final Cut Pro. And he was an avid guy, and he had never tried Final Cut before. And he said he went online, and in a week he was cutting on Final Cut, got a feature film and loved it. And he said, I hated to love it, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
It's nice that Apple is being more forthcoming with this stuff.
Well, I think they should be.
They should be indeed. They should be indeed. So when we had the open letter last year, right before NAB, and Apple responded to it, it seemed like Apple was being more forthcoming. And they had the beta version of Final Cut. They allowed that to be shown on YouTube channels last March. And then it was out right before NAB. Once again, it came out right before NAB. And then since then, it's been like radio silence, no news about Final Cut Pro, no feature updates, bug fixes, nothing for 16 months. So once again, I don't pay attention to this. When Apple talk, I don't pay attention to that. Walk when they walk. That's what I pay attention to, when there's actually action to back up the words. Words mean absolutely nothing without action to back them up. So far, we've only got words. We don't have any action. Not giving up. I mean, I'm a big Final Cut Pro proponent, so. Lutz says, have a tiny Final Cut group on Telegram. I'm not sure what Telegram is. But are we sure that an update grade of Final Cut Pro will be presented during NAB 2023? No, we are not sure. No, we're hoping. We're hoping. There's been no word, and we have 1 week, next week, that the Final Cut Pro team could release a feature update just ahead of NAB. That'll help Final Cut Pro. Why would you waste this concentrated group of 60, 70, 80,000 people that are there for broadcast, film, television? Why would you waste that audience and not optimize something to come out right before NAB? It's free money, Apple. It's free money, free advertising. All these people are together. They come from around the world together to discuss filmmaking, Final Cut Pro. I mean, filmmaking and television and broadcast. And why would you not take advantage of that? It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You can't tell me since 10.6, it's 10.6.2, so it's been 1 year since 10.6.2 came out. I'm sorry. You can't tell me in all of 2023 you put out 2 features, and so far the first 4 months of 2023, there's been no features. You can't tell me you don't have something ready to spring on us in time for NAB. Of course you do. Of course you do. You have features you can put in the version, even if it's 10.6.6. Put some features in that and put it up for NAB. Okay, Eric, I'll take that $1 bet. Here's the thing. They've never done that before. In the history of Final Cut Pro, they've never put out a full number update at WWDC. Final Cut Pro 10 I'm talking about. I didn't look at the classic Final Cut Pro. Okay? 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, 10.4, 10.5, 10.6. None of those have come out around WWDC. There's been a few times when a point update came out around WWDC, but it's not a Final Cut Pro specific event. Final Cut Pro gets lost at WWDC. It's many app developers, hardware announcements. Final Cut Pro is like this big at WWDC, where at NAB, it's much bigger. So I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they've never done a full number update to Final Cut Pro around WWDC. They've done a couple of point updates, but never a full number update. It would be so disappointing if Apple will not introduce a whole new Final Cut Pro during NAB. Well, we've been disappointed a lot I've been disappointed a lot with 10.5 and 10.6, to be honest with you. It took forever to get 10.5 out. It took over a year longer than I thought. I cannot understand why Apple is so secretive about Final Cut Pro. They comprehend the necessary frustration they create. I don't think it's the Final Cut Pro team. I think it's people higher up at Apple that put a clamp on them. It is a software event, but not a Final Cut Pro event. It's worldwide developers. How many apps and developers? Tell me, have you ever seen a full number updated Final Cut Pro around WWDC? No, you haven't. Not Final Cut Pro 10. It never happens. They demo Final Cut Pro if there's new hardware to demo it on. So if there's a new Mac Pro at WWDC, yes, we will see a version of Final Cut Pro demoed on the screen. But I bet you it doesn't come out. I bet you it comes out later in the year. They say a pre-release version or whatever. It's not, Logic, Compressor, Motion, Apple. These are the Pro apps and main stage. You don't see them other than on-screen demoing a little bit. It's not a major release place. And I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying it never has happened yet, based on the past. From what I can see on the internet, developers are very quiet, and there's a feeling of sadness about Final Cut Pro future. Well, the expression, the calm before the storm. So the fact that, everything is really, really quiet. There's no news about Final Cut Pro for months and months, and maybe 6 months, 8 months, there's been no news about Final Cut Pro. I hope that means there's a big update. That's what I hope. If I'm wrong, we'll come back on and talk about it. But I understand the frustration if you're frustrated with Final Cut Pro. I completely understand that. I have been too. I just assume 10.7 comes out when the Mac Pro finally debuts. Possibly. That would be a good time. Maybe. It's scary. Well, if you need to, you already paid for Final Cut Pro if you're here, right? You've already paid for it. $299. I bought it when it first came out. Do you use DaVinci Resolve? I would use DaVinci Resolve as my main desktop NLE, and I'd use LumaFusion on the iPad for sure. Those would be my two that I'd use. I like both of them a lot. Both of them a lot. But I still use Final Cut Pro. Every time I'm doing a video, it's because I know it the best. Of course, I've spent years and years. I'm an Apple certified Final Cut Pro trainer, so I used to teach classes in Final Cut Pro. Well, I still can, I guess, if I wanted to, but I don't particularly want to because it's a lot of work. When I do a presentation, I study and I write the class, and for weeks and weeks and weeks, it's a lot of work. The same reason I don't do presentations at events, Final Cut Pro events. I go to the events as more of a reporter and to report on things and to do live streams and to talk about Final Cut Pro. So next 1 week, we're going to be at NAB. 1 week, we are going to be at NAB. Let's see what else we have. Let me see if there's any more videos. There might be one more video. Oh, we got to check this out. Room. There's our cat room. That's Tuffy in the lower right. Lucy, I see Lucy there by the front window. So last year, even last year in 2022, there was no specific Final Cut Pro event, but there was a super meet. There's no super meet this year. No super meet. Now, I will be going to the Media Motion Ball, whatever that thing is, on Monday night. I will be doing that. That's a paid ticket. You have to pay for it. It's dinner and stuff. So I'll be seeing some Final Cut Pro people there. I think I'll be seeing, Serena Catania is going to be there, Philip Hodgetts, Gregory Clark. So the four of us, at least representing Final Cut Pro, will be there. We'll be there on that event. So, but last year we had the Super Meet. There's a lot of Final Cut Pro people there. Sam Messman was there. Steve Martin was there. Serena was there. I was there. I talked to a lot of Final Cut Pro people. Dylan John was there, and the Final Cut Pro was there. So Dylan Bates, the two Final Cut Pro Dylans, I called them, because I met them at NAB last year, and we were at Super Meet. So there was like a dozen of us or more at the Super Meet. That's what I'm hoping we can do again, since there's nothing official happening. We go to FCP at NAB, the Facebook group, join it, and we have a few dozen people there. And we'll try to do some meetups, Final Cut Pro meetups at Starbucks, at some of these events. There's an event on Monday. I'm not going to announce it. I'm going to announce it in that group. There's an event on Monday that's free. Starts at 5 o'clock. So I'll probably, if we get enough people that want to go there and meet up, I'll be there from 5 to 6 on Monday, and we'll have our own little Final Cut Pro meetup on Monday night at this event. But you join the Facebook group. I'm not going to announce it to the public because I just want to have an idea who's going to show up. I have DaVinci just so I can have a backup if Final Cut Pro no longer supports Final Cut Pro, but never Premiere. I agree with that. Never Premiere, DaVinci Resolve. If there are 5 million estimated seats of Final Cut Pro, doesn't it make sense that keeping it vibrant and cutting edge would be more? Of course. You can't run Final Cut without hardware. Absolutely. Absolutely. They make, Final Cut Pro team is doing a good job. But, there's a lot of people leaving Apple. Who the heck knows? Do you think Apple is waiting for the new Mac Pro and iMac Pro to announce a major Final Cut Pro update? Possibly. But in the meantime, give us 10.6.6 with a couple features. Give us 10.6.6. They could be waiting for the Mac Pro at WWDC and announcing Final Cut Pro 10.7 there or 10.11. They've just never done that in the past. They've never announced a full point update around WWDC because it's not, Final Cut Pro is this big at WWDC. It's this big. There's dozens and hundreds of other applications and software development and days of training, and sometimes there's hardware announcements. Final Cut Pro is dwarfed at WWDC. Could it happen? Sure, it could happen. But I don't think so. I think, in my opinion, if I was in charge, NAB is the time you want to try to get Final Cut Pro update out. There was features anyway. Anyway, this week, I'm still editing. I have a feature coming out on April the 29th. It's going to be shown locally. Silver Spring at the Silver Theater. The American AFI Silver, it's the American Film Institute Theater. But I'm going to be showing you the equipment that I'm bringing to NAB. I'll probably do some microphone testing to see which microphones work out the best. And leading up to actually leaving for NAB. It's a big deal. And like I said, I'll follow along over there at my YouTube channel. Go over there and subscribe. Richard Taylor TV, of course. Like and subscribe. That's what you want to do. And you'll be notified whenever we go live. Most of the stuff is, I'll do whatever Final Cut Pro stuff I can do, but most stuff just going to be more, I'll go to the Black Magic booth, I'll go to this booth. I will be stopping in to see Audio Design Desk, and I will be stopping in to see LumaFusion. And I have 2 more sponsors for NAB, and once they complete their sponsorship, I'll say who they are. Apple may surprise us with Final Cut Pro 11 built from the ground up. Absolutely. I'd like that. That would be fantastic. Well, have a great NAB. Look forward to your reporting. Absolutely. Thank you very much. Is a lack of updates a money issue? All updates have been free. Perhaps each seat can include 3 years of updates and then, so far it's included 11 years of updates. I think 12 years in June. So if Final Cut Pro 11 is a major update, I have no problem paying for that. after 11, 12 years of free updates, no problem whatsoever. I'd like to see a discount for those of us that have been supporting Final Cut Pro the last 11, 12 years, though. Somehow give us a $100 update charge or whatever. That's not a problem. I don't mind that. That would be something that perhaps could happen with Final Cut Pro 11. I don't see it happening with 10.7, but who the heck knows? They can do that at any time, right? Yes, any time. So don't forget, buy me a coffee over there, buymeacoffee.com, Richard Taylor. We got a listener today that bought me a coffee for NAB. I appreciate it. We're approaching $100, and last year we had $200. So we're $100 behind, but we are not at NAB yet. So that'd be very cool if we got to be $200 again. I'd appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate it. I'm not the kind of person that just does something and just doesn't appreciate it. I appreciate everybody stopping in to these Saturday morning events. We'll probably have one next Saturday. I don't think it'll be too busy for me to, because I'll be packing and getting things organized and checking off the checklist. Enjoy NAB. He says, I will. Are you going to be there? Are you going to be there, Darius? If you are, let me know where, try to hook up over there at our Facebook group and let's get together with a few of us. I think we'll have like a couple of meetups or like 6 or a dozen people, Final Cut Pro people. I expect, like I said, at the Media Motion Ball on Monday night, I'll be there, Serena Catania, Philip Hodgetts, and Gregory Clark. That's 4 of us, but I expect there'll be another 6, 8, 10, 12 Final Cut Pro specific people. It's not a Final Cut Pro event, but I bet you there's going to be a lot of Final Cut Pro people there. So we can get together there. Maybe I'll do a live stream. Well, I'll do a live stream from there for sure, but even when I'm not live streaming, I'm filming. Lots of stuff. I do lots of interviews, so I'll do that there as well. All right? I am going to exit today. I got some more work to do, so I'll be exiting. And I appreciate each and every one of you stopping by. If you get a chance, go to buymeacoffee.com and support me over there. But subscribe. I actually hit send. I meant to say, well, look forward to your updates. Oh, okay. That's fine. Yeah. I'm going to start. I'm going to do, typically, I'm going to start at the airport. Okay, Sunday morning, I'm going to start. When I'm waiting to get on a plane, I'll fire this system up, do a quick update there at the airport, and then I'll take the airplane, get to Las Vegas, get to my hotel, and then as I get to NAB, the convention center, I'll start up a live stream there. The problem with doing them live at the convention center is I'm depending on my cell phone connection. It's not very dependable inside of NAB Convention Center. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. But I'll film all day long. I'll film and interview people. Not everybody. I'm not trying to be everything for everybody. I'm not trying to be all these things I'm going to be talking to the camera manufacturers and stuff. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm looking for Final Cut Pro specific stuff and stuff that interests me. I'm looking to get a Panasonic camera. I'll go there and talk to them. I might be getting a Sony camera. If they have something new coming out, I'll go talk to them. And then third-party vendors that are integrated in Final Cut Pro, I'll talk to some of them. That's plenty for one person to be doing. But if we get a group of Final Cut Pro guys and gals together, we'll do a group little live stream or a little bit of filming and stuff. And there's certain key people that I will be interviewing. Take it back to the hotel room, put together clips, start up a live stream. The biggest live stream will probably be in the morning. I have more time in the morning because I'll be at nighttime. I'm going to different events, so can't get back to the hotel room and do something. I might do a short one, but not a long one. The morning I have more time when I get up, and I'll do a live stream showing you clips from the day before, talking about things. That's when I'll be doing it. So anyway, thanks everybody for stopping in. I really, really appreciate it. And probably see you next Saturday. If there's a update to Final Cut Pro, I'll come back on during the week. But we'll be back on Saturday to talk about it. All right, everyone? Thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Oh, we have one more comment here. post a link in the coffee in the description. Let me see, where in the heck is that? Here we go. That's that. Copy. I'll do it right now. Let me go over there to YouTube. I think I can actually post a link, right? Yeah, here we go. There we go. It should be coming up. It should be in the YouTube comments. There's the actual link. Here we go. buymeacoffee.com/Richard Taylor. I think I'm the only one that can actually post links over there. So I appreciate it. You know, $5, $10. Some people do 5 coffees. That's it's fantastic. I appreciate it. I will be eating at In-N-Out Burger because that's at the hotel where I am. There's an In-N-Out Burger right in the alleyway. There's a great breakfast place called Maxie's. I'll get breakfast maybe Monday morning, a good breakfast. And there's an In-N-Out Burger. I've eaten there 2 or 3 times. So this is my trip to the West Coast for this so far this year. I'm hoping there'll be a Final Cut Pro Creative Summit in the fall. We'll have to wait and see about that. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. See you next week, if not before.